A young orphan boy lies on the grass, bored out of his mind. His name is Izao Sakamaki. Luckily for him, his boredom is lifted when a group of delinquents starts harassing a boy nearby. Hearing his pleas for help, Izao chucks rocks at the bullies with incredible force. Those little pebbles crash into the scene like meteors from outer space. Naturally, the kid he'd been helping and the bullies all took off as soon as they figured out who was tossing the rocks. Then, just as boredom was about to creep in, a letter fell from the sky bearing Izao's name on its exterior. Elsewhere, inside a large classical Japanese household, a letter addressed to Asuka Kudo sat on her desk. Intrigued, Asuka used a mysterious power to force the truth out of the maid, who stated that only Asuka has a key to the room. Asuka dismisses the maid and admires the fact that someone entered and left without a trace except for the note. And finally, we meet Yokasukabe, the third mix, who is in tune with nature. Her cat ran up and delivered a letter bearing her name. Once Yo opened the letter, she got teleported into a fantastical world along with the other two kids. Apparently, the letter was an invitation to gifted individuals. In exchange for leaving everything behind, they would be welcomed to the garden, where their gifts are put to the test. Just like Harry, who had to brave the hazardous London subway, these kids had to brave a free fall. Luckily, the trio safely landed in a lake. As soon as they went out to dry land, first impressions were made. Asuka's rich and bossy personality collided with Izao's laid-back and casual demeanor. Meanwhile, Yo held on to her cat, remaining calm and unexpressive during the chat. Soon after, a pair of bunny ears peeked out of nearby bushes. The huz was planning to do a big grand reveal, but it was ruined by Izao, who called her out. The bunny girl, though, tried to play it cool and chill, until Izao decided to scare the huz by breaking the tree she hid behind in half. Yo soon joined the fun and chased after the confused demi-human. Not wanting to sit idly behind, Asuka ordered a flock of birds to force the bunny girl to the ground. With her ass to the grass, the chick makes it clear that she's a friend, not a foe. However, the problem children aren't buying it and begin tugging at her ears one after another, forcing the bunny girl to formally introduce herself. Calling herself Black Rabbit, she welcomes them to the garden, a world where they are granted the privilege of joining the gift games. The gift games were events where they could bet anything, such as their material wealth or even their powers, in exchange for varying prizes of incredible value. As long as a host issues a challenge, anyone can participate and bet whatever is deemed of equivalent value to the prize being offered. Also, since the game can get tenacious, participants usually join a community to survive, and the bunny girl offered to induct them into her community if they passed a simple card challenge. In a way, it's like the hat scene that determined which house the kids joined, and if you think I'm stretching it, just keep in mind that Black Rabbit has the privileges of a judge master, an individual connected to the garden's hub through her eyes and ears, which prevented cheating attempts. For this simple challenge, she requested no bets, but promised each of them a favor in return. Izao made sure he heard that right while staring at her opie, a man of culture in some people's eyes, but a pervert in Black Rabbit's, who made it clear that no inappropriate wishes would be fulfilled. All three accepted and began inspecting the cards before starting. The gang looked for individual ways to identify the card they desired. After that, the bunny girl set the cards down and let them decide on who would start. Naturally, the man of the hour steps forward and slams his hand down on the card he chose. All the other cards fly up from the impact, so Asuka and Yo snatch the cards they liked. To the bunny girl's surprise, the hub relays no unfair play. Asuka and Yo pass, but Izao's card were still face down. He turns it over and reveals a King of Clubs card. Izao admits to counting the cards, which helped ensure his victory. For his wish, Izao asked the bunny girl if this world is exciting. Black Rabbit assures him that this world is filled with wonder and challenges, and there is no lack of excitement to be found. Following this event, the group head to the area beneath the tents they saw during their fall. There, they meet up with Jin Russell, the master of Black Rabbit's community. The fine huz turned to introduce the trio, but instead, she found only the girls. Izao had secretly slipped away to explore the edges of this world. Knowing this, Black Rabbit channeled her hidden power and her hair turned from blue to pink. In this Super Saiyan form, the hot shiz was able to dash through the forest at superhuman speed to catch the little rascal. Asuka and Yo were impressed by her agility, which Jin explained it's because bunny chicks are servants of the garden's founder. After explaining the lore, Jin led the girls into the city, where many races coexisted. The tent they are under imitates the sky, but also helps protect beings sensitive to sunlight, such as vampires. The little fella further explained that they were currently in the East District, where the residents were quite friendly. Jin invited them for a meal after their long travels, while a giant figure stalked them. Back with the Black Rabbit situation, she rushed through the forest looking for Izao desperately. Since the gods hosted their games on the edges of the garden, she worried Izao might have been caught up in them. Suddenly, a blast of water flew over the tree line. She rushed over and found the troubled child standing near the edge. Izao was already caught up in a battle challenge against a water god. The serpent dragon told Izao that if he survived this water hurricane attack, he would be victorious, to which the latter accepted gleefully. Unbeknownst to the big snake, our boy could punch through the attack, and punch away he did. But instead of taking the easy win, the man's regret and the woman's bet compelled him to keep the challenge going until there was a definitive loser. So he leaped up and struck the water god, rendering the beast unconscious. Meanwhile, Asuka, Jin, and Yo order food. Also, Yo's cat, Calico, ordered for himself since the cat girl maid spoke his language. Yo revealed that her power enabled her to communicate with animals, and she thought Asuka's power was the same, as evidenced by the time she ordered the birds to help catch Bunny Girl. Yet, before Asuka could reveal what her powers are, the man who was stalking them decided to join the dinner uninvited. The giant mammoth of a man taunted Jin, calling him John Doe, the leader of the weakest community in the East District. He introduces himself to the girls as Guard Gasper, leader of the Forest Gallo community. Back at the edge of the universe, Black Rabbit hoped over to Izao after the water god awarded her with a big water tree sapling. She rejoices over the fact that their community would no longer need to buy water from other communities. Izao, however, took the moment of joy to ask her what secret she was hiding from the trio. Izao asked Black Rabbit, or BR as we will call her from now on, why she had brought them to the garden. His intuition led him to believe that their community was either weak or in steep decline. Incidentally, we see Guard inviting the girls to join his community, the Forest Gallo community. Black Rabbit admits that Izao's suspicions were correct. The John Doe community was indeed in a grave situation. Each community had its banner and name that would mark its territory across the garden, and until recently, BR's community covered most of the East District. The winds, however, blew in the opposite direction. A powerful community set its sights on the John Doe community and brought it to ruin overnight. They had lost a game against a demon king, which cost them everything. After suffering defeat at the hands of such a formidable foe, their community crumbled. All individuals worthy of participating in the gift games were BR and Jin. The 120 remaining members of their community were kids with no place to go. To survive, the kids would go and buy water from neighboring communities to tend to their land since the soil was no longer fertile. Hearing this story, Asuka declined Guard's offer and decided to join Jin's community. When asked about the logic behind her choice, she told him that she left all the wealth and status of her previous life to come here for a challenge instead of getting set up in another comfortable position inside a community that was already dominant. Asuka turned to Yo and inquired about her desires. Yo said she only wished to make friends. Asuka offered to be her first friend, which Yo delightfully accepted. Guard stood up and raised his voice at them, but Asuka wasn't having it. "Sit down, dog. You will answer to me," she said. The big lug's body froze and followed her orders unwillingly. It made sense that the Demon Lord's community would attain such power and influence, but she wondered how the Forest Gallo expanded so much in the meantime. Guard begins to confess that his community would kidnap children from other communities and force them into gift games to ensure their victory. He also admits that they begun killing all the children they kidnapped, since keeping them was too much of a hassle, and such a secret going public would ruin his community beyond repair. Asuka released him from her control after learning all she needed to know about their current situation. In a fit of rage, Guard sheds his human form and transforms into a humanoid tiger to attack Asuka. Luckily, the kitty bender Yo moved swiftly and restrained him with ease. Asuka then was like, "Listen here, postboy, me guild contre le tien." That's French for, "1v1 me bro, winner takes all." Now reunited and caught up on what happened with that Jerry scum, Bunny Girl shat her pants, for they are not strong enough to take on such a gamble. Well, that is until you bring the man of the hour into the game. Izao, however, declined, and since the girls had already made their choice, butting in would be disrespectful. Later, BR takes the trio through town to see the Thousand Eyes, a commercial community that evaluates gifts. Along the way, the falling tree leaves indicated spring, and that is when BR realized that all three teens came from different parallel dimensions. Not very important info as a girl in a kimono running at BR to crash into a nearby stream, best set up to fondle the bunny girl's assets. Black Rabbit wasn't having it and kicked her off into Izao, who breaks her momentum with his foot. Soon after, the little girl introduces herself in the shop. This little cat girl is called Shirayasha. She is an executive of the Thousand Eyes community. Shiro further explains that the garden is made of 7 districts. The closer you are to the center, the more powerful the individuals and their communities become. The place they were now was the farthest district from the center. That said, Shirayasha lived in the 4th district, making her the most powerful host in the East District. To put the demon girl's power into perspective, the water god that Izao defeated was given its rank by her. Her power intrigued all three teens. They stood up in anticipation to challenge her. Shueisha accepted their courage and transported them into a large, snowy expanse under the night sky, which was one of her playing fields. Shueisha formally introduced herself as the Lord of the White Night and Spirit of the Midnight Sun, one of the demon lords of the garden. She asked them whether they wished for a challenge to overcome or a face-to-face duel. Izao laughs and admits that with such a grand display, they would accept a challenge that she deemed worthy. Shueisha summoned a griffin that comes in soaring from behind a nearby mountain. The half-bird, half-lion beast was powerful and prideful. The challenge she issued was for someone to ride him atop his back around her playing field. Yo stepped up and accepted the challenge herself and put her life as collateral if she lost. Asuka and BR tried to stop her, but Izao reassured them that she knew what she was doing. Yo then hopped atop the beast as it flew off into the distance. The griffin walked upon the wind as it flew with incredible speed. The frozen wind and air pressure had Yo struggling to stay on. Thankfully, Yo remembered her father and the stories he would tell her while she was in the hospital. This griffin was just as he had described. Her father gifted her a necklace with a piece of wood. Its shine helped her get out of bed and overcome her weak condition. Yo wanted to repay her father's love with success. She told Griffin they would become friends as she held onto his back. Once the griffin finished its flight, Yo passed out and fell off. Suddenly, the necklace began shining and she awoke with Griffin's ability to walk on air, which helped Yo get back to her friends. Izao realized that Yo's gift allowed her to use the powers of different animals after she established a friendship with them. A notion proven true when Griffin acknowledged her and expressed his hope that she would use his power moving forward. With the lads proving they belong here, Shueisha handed them gift cards bearing their names. Once infused with power, the cards will reveal the gift name each kid has. Izao's card, however, failed to show his gift's name as it was labeled unknown, much to Shueisha's astonishment. BR and Jin took the trio to their no-name territory, where the soil is dead and all the structures severely dilapidated. The gift game with the Demon King was only 3 years ago, even though the damage looked like 200 years worth of damage. The Demon King's power had Izao feeling riled up. Facing such a powerful opponent excited him. Inside the Forest Gallo community's headquarters, a vampire gifts guard a demon's gift through a bite to the neck. How he uses it is up to him. She turns her sight to the new rise of No Name's community, whom after years of drought are now blessed with water. BR planted the water tree sapling in the tower within their community's farmland, prompting water to magically well up and flow out, filling either side of the tower's walls with lakes. Following this, Asuka, Yo, and Best Girl, Black Rabbit, enjoy a relaxing bath. The three girls do what girls do. They spend the night yapping to get to know each other, while Calico floats around alongside them. Mind you, the cat is a male, do with that info what you want. Meanwhile, outside the community headquarters, a group of cloaked individuals sneak around waiting for their chance to infiltrate. Izao shows and foils their plans by throwing a rock to scare the ninjas, just like the first time we met our lad. The impact of the rock was too much. Consequently, Jin woke up to the noise and ran out next to Izao. Guard had sent these amateurs to investigate the gang, yet the formers claim they harbor the gang no ill will, for they are down on their luck and in need of a savior. You see, Guard had taken their kids hostage and then made them kidnap other kids for his schemes. The fellas wanted to make a move, but since the douche was under a demon lord, they couldn't do shit. However, experiencing Izao's power firsthand, their hope is rekindled until it's snuffed away when the main man refuses to aid them. Izao revealed that all the kids they helped capture were killed by Guard. If anyone is to help them, it would be Jin Russell, who swore to defeat all Demon Kings. Naturally, Jin freaks out at Izao once they get back to the manor. Jinny Boy only wanted to rebuild his community. Not to mention they need to strengthen the guild before pulling any risky business with Demon Kings. Hearing this, Izao reminds the little rascal that his community has no name or emblem. The only thing they can do to compete is to use Jin Russell's name to attract demon lords for gift games while also rallying everyone who stands against them behind their community. That would guarantee he gains powerful allies, unlike the ones who abandoned them when the community first fell. Jin interrupted him, explaining that not all his previous allies had left. A former Demon King had to exit the guild since they were offered as a prize for an upcoming gift game. Izao promised him he would participate in that game and reclaim his ally. Soon after, the girls walk in on this conversation, asking what's been happening. Izao dodges their yapping and tells them that he will leave the community if they lose tomorrow before heading to bed. Inside the Forest Gallows base, one of the thugs reports back to Guard, who is in tiger form. As one might expect, when a spy fails in his one job, this means the end of the road for them, and the fact that the boss was high on the vamp steroids didn't help. The vampire who gave him the demon's gift floats above the compound, where vines spread across into a nearby forest. The game stage is set. The following day, the squad arrive at the site. The contract detailing the rules appears in their hands. To win the game, they must defeat Guard using a designated weapon. Thus, Asuka, Yo, and Jin walk through the thorn-infested site. Thanks to Yo's enhanced smelling sense, they find the main building where the big cower is hiding. Inside, they find Guard in his tiger form, so Asuka tried to control him like last time, but failed. The demon's gift has made him more powerful at the cost of his common sense. Luckily, Yo was there to protect the princess from harm's way. Asuka then noticed a sword impaled in the wall inside the room, which was the weapon they needed to use to defeat Guard. Considering the gravity of the situation, Asuka ordered Jin to retreat since he's just a Mary Sue, let's face it. Unexpectedly though, Jin carried Asuka with him and ran with the wind. A moment later, Yo caught up to them while bleeding profusely. Apparently, she injured Guard but couldn't finish him off. Thus, she handed Asuka the sword before losing consciousness. Consequently, Asuka entrusted Jin with Yo and went on her way to finish the challenge, sword in hand. During the walk, we get a flashback of Bunny Girl telling Asuka that her gift, titled Might, was still unpolished. Her background had given it the form of authority, but there was much more to it. Back to the present moment, after reaching the manor, Asuka wasted no time and started executing her plan. First, she sets the building on fire, luring the furry out from the closet. After a bit of chase out in the open, I wondered how a sheltered girl was able to outrun an adult tiger with demon powers. Oh well, I guess it was part of her powers she used to control the vines to trap the oversized cat for a moment to ask the sword to give her power. The Beauty and the Beast charged at each other, with the Beauty coming on top. His death cleared all the corruption surrounding the area of the Forest Gallows community. With the game finished, Black Rabbit grabbed Yo and hopped away to give her medical attention. In the light of this victory, Izao pushed Jin ahead to fulfill his side of the promise. All the people who guard rule now rally under Jin's banner. The little rascal claimed that he would defeat the demon lords oppressing people like them, and he promised to give these losers their emblems back. Meanwhile, the vampire girl observed all of these events unfold from a distance. After assuring Izao about Yo's condition, BR jumped in joy, asking Izao about his promise with Jin to save their old comrade. We find out that Letitia was an ex-demon king who used to be BR's senior. Sadly, she was seized by the demon king they lost to, and is being offered as a prize in an upcoming gift game. When asked whether or not she could help, BR admitted that rabbits possess the judge's authority, so they must fulfill certain conditions to participate in the games. Following this explanation, BR had to make some tea. Izao took this moment to call out to the figure spying on them from the outside, who was the vampire that gave Guard the demon's gift. Although she obliged and had a rather dramatic entrance, the vamp refused to answer Izao's questions about her involvement in the recent events before proceeding to attack him. Little did she know, rotten roots are not enough to faze our boy. Black Rabbit, Asuka, and Jin ran into the room to investigate the fuss. Immediately, BR stopped Izao from attacking the blonde vampire, who is the one they were talking about before Letitia. They all sit down and discuss what transpired. Letitia apologized to everyone for the harm that befell Yo. Her assistance to Guard was meant to be a test of strength for the new members of the no-name community. Had they failed, she would have convinced Best Girl and Jin to disband their community. However, they won, and Jin's name was already being spread far and wide, so disbanding was no longer an option. Black Rabbit then spills the beans and tells her friend that they plan on winning the gift game with her as the prize. Letitia, however, holds unfortunate news. The gift game was cancelled. Yup, we learned during a meeting between Shiroyasha and the successor of the noble community of Perseus that he called for the cancellation. The edgelord creep explained that he had found a buyer for Letitia, rendering the game no longer necessary. Shiroyasha told him that Letitia needed to be in his possession before the cancellation would go through. Laius assured her that he knew where she was and a force was dispatched to retrieve her before they figured out how they would punish the no-name community that welcomed her, and if that wasn't enough, Laius threw his cup at Shiroyasha to trigger a reaction and proceeded to further taunt her. Although he might not be able to beat the cat girl in battle, Laius was certain he could level the place before she reached him using his E-boy Chalker. Back with the gang, hearing the news of the cancellation, Black Rabbit and friends contemplated another way to win Dracula's seed back. Izao, however, doesn't worry one bit as the main man stands up and tells her to test his strength. Outside the community building, Letitia readied a giant lance. The challenge was to have it thrown back and forth until someone failed to catch it. Thus, the 1,000-year Missy charged the lance with immense magic and chucked it at our boy. Needless to say, he punched it back at her effortlessly since Izao is an isekai protagonist after all. Letitia was astonished by his strength and chose to let the lance fly at her. To her luck, the Best Girl swooped in to pull her out of harm's way. BR pulled out the gift card from Letitia and noticed that all of her powerful gifts are gone. She is no more than a normal vampire now. Suddenly, a ray shoots across the garden and BR warns Asuka to dodge out of the way. But it is too late for her to react. Therefore, Letitia pushed Asuka out of the Gorgon's gaze and was petrified instead. A group of men donning Greek armor flew towards them. They came to retrieve Letitia for the community of Perseus. Seeing the complete disregard for her fam's well-being, BR went Super Saiyan and called upon a powerful lightning staff named Indra that makes her enemies cower in fear. Black Rabbit blasted off some powerful magic, but Izao held her back last second. Fighting them would mean going up against the Thousand Eyes, so the right thing to do here was to stand back and settle the matter peacefully. This means Izao, BR, and Asuka must head to Shiroyasha's office to meet with Laius. Their Laius mistook Reese with harassment, and that's with a double Z. Luckily, Asuka was there to protect.
Et jambes sexy nous appartiennent,
She said. Consequently, this started a hilarious bidding war on who would take ownership of those delicious rabbit feet. And before you accuse me of pushing some sort of fetish onto you, here's the raw proof. Back to a more serious matter. After the L-Man fails another D20 charisma roll, he offers to have Letitia return to them in exchange for BR becoming his slave. Hearing this, Asuka pulls a classic and orders him to shut the F up. His body follows her orders, but he quickly breaks out of her control. He then pulls out his Anubis dagger, but has his attack blocked by Izao. And let me tell you, that shit was so cool. Shiroyasha orders them to calm down and restore peace. BR tells him that this session is over and that she will consider his offer with her community before returning to the matter later on. Back at Noming's community building, Asuka scolds BR for considering such an offer in the first place. Soon after, Yo walked in with her injuries mostly healed. She offered them cookies that the kids baked and calmed the situation down. BR said that the only way they could have the community of Perseus agree to a gift game was if they beat 2 trials their community issued, which mimicked the trials of Perseus. Such a thing would take too much time. Letitia would have already been sold. Suddenly, Izao busts down the doors to the room and sets 2 bags on the table in front of the girls. He gives them a smug smile while presenting what they thought were 2 watermelons. The next day, BR hops up to where Laius is lounging. She opens the bags and reveals the gifts of Kraken and Greya. Defeating those monsters gave the no-names the right to participate in the legendary gift game. BR flaunted how her ally acquired them with ease to force the douche into combat. Laius begrudgingly agrees to her challenge and promises to make them regret their decision. You'd think such big manly words meant a guild war or 1 versus 1 combat, but no, it was a hide-and-seek game, assassin style. Find Laius and finish him, but if the soldiers detected someone, they would lose the right to fight. Iziori and BR pointed out that the most difficult part about killing Laius was the power of an ex-demon king he had enslaved. The team composed of Izao, Asuka, Yo, Jin, and BR split up to achieve certain goals necessary to reach Laius. As someone with the judge's authority, BR could only watch and enforce the rules, while Asuka went through the front door and lost the right to fight Laius. Unsparingly, it was just a distraction meant to attract and defeat all the soldiers searching for them. Asuka used her gift to summon a copy of the water tree, and she commanded torrents of water to blast her enemies away. Next up was Yo. She used her gift to sense the invisible soldiers. After kicking one of them right in the liver, his helmet fell off and the invisibility faded. The helmet was a replica of Hades' helm, which grants invisibility. Izao needed one more to take himself and Jin to the final boss room. Luckily, the goddess of luck smiled upon them when Laius' second-in-command attacked Yo. The generic isekai lackey was wearing the true helm of Hades, giving him invisibility that neither she nor Izao could detect with their 5 senses. Therefore, Yo proceeded to change the method of search. Using the magical necklaces, Yo utilized echolocation to find her enemy. She directed Izao to attack in front of him, knocking out the commander with a single punch. You can say, at the moment, he was a one-punch man. Meanwhile, BR stood alone in the place where the battle was to take place, and suddenly she began to feel someone tickling her. Jin and Izao take off their helmets and stare down Laius, who has Letitia's petrified statue beside him. Laius grabbed the small token on his choker and summoned an ex-demon king named Aldal, a star in the Perseus constellation known as the Devil. Aldal is a giant humanoid creature resembling the visage of a woman. The baddie charged a powerful ray blast that petrified everything and everyone inside the community of Perseus domain. Thereafter, the goth mommy used her toy belts as a weapon. But since our boy was giving major Redditor mod energy at the time, he managed to cancel the goth mommy's whip attack, and even was able to slam her into the ground where she went up all close and personal. Backed into a corner, Laius commanded Algol to charge another petrification ray capable of freezing their entire world solid. Izao, however, dodged the ray and seemingly broke it in half, which is weird since the ray is a laser and according to Einstein, you can't kick lasers. But oh well, it looked cool. With all the demon mommy big moves out of the way, Izao finished her with his signature one punch, shocking everyone by what this middle schooler with an unknown gift is capable of. After being outplayed, outmatched, and outclassed, Laius admitted defeat. Before BR could declare victory, however, Izao changed the stakes. He bet Laius' emblem in exchange for the no-name community's emblem. Turns out he could have gotten Letitia anytime he wanted, so his prio was to get his guild some street cred. In a last desperate attempt, Laius charged at Izao, but we all know how that would turn out. After all, the L in Laius stands for loser. The next day, Letitia woke up surrounded by her friends. She is now once again in the same community as her friends Jin, Beer, as well as Asuka and Izao, who insist that since they had won the game, she would become a maid for their community. Letitia agrees to the trivial condition concerning the lads won her freedom back. That night, BR invited all the members to a feast in the community's garden. Outside, they all gaze upon the shooting stars blazing their way through the night sky. Persis was exiled from the Thousand Eyes after their loss and was ordered to remove their banner from the skies. When Izao realized that the stars themselves were props in the gift games, he told Black Rabbit that his new goal was to get their banners up there. After such a big, eventful arc, Asuka slept like a princess. She dreamed of her old, boring life and how she wanted to escape it. Yo! And one of the children named Lily wake Asuka up, and they show her a letter with a blue seal containing 2 knights. The girls walk over to find Izao and Jin asleep in a pile of books inside the library. Asuka showed them the letter Yo found hidden in BR's office. It was an invitation to attend the Nativity of the Salamander, a crowning event being held in the Northeast District border, where many gift games would be held. The main gift game was hosted by the floor master. Izao, Asuka, and Yo get excited and plan to attend, but Jin wakes up and tries to warn them about the vast distance they have to cross. The trio had already sent BR a letter informing her that they would attend the Northeast District for the crowning, and as punishment for keeping this a secret from them, they challenged her to catch them before the day ended, or they would leave the community forever. In town, Jin explains to the problem children that the garden had the surface area of a star and traveling from one district to another was no easy feat. Astral gates were the main method of travel, but they cost a fortune to use. They were not discouraged by the distance. They instead chose to heckle the Thousand Eyes to give them transportation. Back in the no-name community's main hall, BR had the kids search for the troublesome trio. It was clear they had already left, so she turned into her pink form and stormed off in anger. Meanwhile, Izao was demanding that Shiroya should transport them to where the event is taking place. She agreed on the condition that they do her a favor. Floor masters rule the layers of this world. When a demon king appears, they would be the ones to defeat it and return order to their region. The Nativity of the Salamander was a crowning ceremony for the new leader in Salamandra, a region administered by the Northern Floor Masters. The new leader was Sandra, the youngest daughter of the previous leader, an 11-year-old girl. Shirayasha was tasked with helping the little girl in the ceremony since no other leaders in the regions near her wanted to help. Before Shirayasha could go into details about her request, Izao and the others agreed to take on the task and talk about the details later. She agreed and clapped. Once the group walked outside, they found themselves in the Northern District in the blink of an eye. As they were enjoying the sights, BR landed next to them. Izao and Asuka managed to escape, but Yo was captured before she can leap away. Black Rabbit promised her a scolding when she caught her friends and dashed away. Everyone was surprised by how serious Best Girl was after they threatened to leave her community. Izao and Asuka snuck through the alleyways and walked through the town with their arms crossed, pretending to be a couple. Meanwhile, inside the Thousand Eyes office, Shirayasha offered Yo a chance to participate in a challenge called the Battle of the Creators. Gifts of creation are treasured in the North due to their ability to alleviate the effects of the harsh climate. The gift Yo's father gave to her, the genome tree, was a wonder of both art and engineering that could win her the challenge. Shirayasha promised her a grand prize if she succeeded. Yo agreed to participate in the gift game, believing that if she won, it would help her make up with BR, a thing Shirayasha guarantees. Back with the makeshift couple, Izao and Asuka admire a sculpture of the first Dragon Lord made of tektite, a rare material known to be the product of the heat and pressure formed by a meteorite impact. Asuka admired Izao's knowledge, but he brushed it off as trivia and nothing special. Carved pumpkins caught Asuka's eyes. She expressed her love for Halloween. Izao suggests that they use the vast farmland in the no-name community's region to plant and harvest pumpkins for their own Halloween event. That would be where they host their first gift games. As they were excitedly planning this out, they found BR standing between them. Letitia grabbed Asuka by her legs, stopping her escape, while Izao sprinted off with BR close behind. Their speed was equal, and the crowds watching this unfold were surprised that a royal lunar rabbit was in such a low-level district as this. Izao offers the actual character I ship him with a challenge. Whoever tags the other with their palm first wins. The loser will follow any order the winner issues. BR agrees, and the papers issuing the challenge appear before them, stating that a coin toss would signal the start of the chase. The coin flies up and falls to the ground. Elsewhere, Asuka, Lily, and Letitia are enjoying sweets while seeing the sights. Asuka sees a small fairy and follows after it, prompting Letitia to chase her. Back with the main man, Izao goes on the offensive, trying to reach BR. He complains to her that no matter how hard he tries, he cannot see up her skirt. Black Rabbit admits that Shiroyasha enchanted the skirt with magic that prevented an upskirt for her protection. Following this unnecessary detail, BR jumped off the ledge first, waiting for him to follow after so she could tackle him midair. Izao saw through that and smashed the building next to him. Although it was smart, it low-key rubbed me the wrong way. Don't know why, but this is the first time I care for NPCs. Seeing them watching the couple combat in awe made me empathize with them, and in this instance, the main character was a jerk trying to be cool. Like, his action resulted in a large portion of the building to collapse onto the streets and the civilians in the area. Thankfully, they had the decency and the might to destroy the tower to minimize the damage. However, decency ended there, as when they landed, the two casually continued their game. The papers appear before their heads and declare the challenge to be a draw. They both touched each other at the exact time. The draw rewarded them both to win one request. While Izao argued the legitimacy of the draw, winged figures ordered the two to freeze as they flew towards them. BR identified them as Salamandra's military police. Elsewhere, we see Calico cheering Yo as she dodges a giant stone golem's attack. She jumped up and kicked it with the force of an elephant, prompting the golem to fall defeated. Consequently, this round helped Yo qualify for the finals being held during tomorrow's coronation. The crowd stared in awe as their next floor master walked up to present the rules for the upcoming game. Meanwhile, Izao and BR got an earful from Mandra, Sandra's older brother, for the damage they inflicted on the town. Izao's smug behavior irritated him even more, but Sandra calmed him down. Now, I can tell that I first watched this show way back when I was younger, since I gave it a 7, but now, seeing how insensitive the make was about the whole ordeal and probably thinking he is cool for not caring, makes me consider going and re-rate it. Anyway, Shiroyasha promised to pay for the repairs, and since the problem children were there to help during the coronation, the new floor master decided to overlook their misbehavior. When the guards were dismissed, Sandra ran up to talk with her friends Jin and Lily. The casual conversation irritated Mandra, who raised his sword at them. Our boy, unconcerned about the masses he had endangered during his catch game, blocked the attack and threatened to fight back. Shiroyasha ordered them all to stand down. Mandra's hate for a no-name community from the east was to be expected from royalty. Shiroyasha informs everyone that an executive of the Thousand Eyes has foreseen signs of an invasion by a demon king in the nativity of the salamander. In town, Asuka caught up to the small fairy and befriended her after sharing her snacks. The fairy learned Asuka's name but only said the name of her community, Rattenfänger, when asked about her own. The two of them stroll around and end up inside an exhibit. Back at the palace, we learn that the letter left out who was complicit in the attack, which had the gang guessing that another floor master was aiding the Demon King. Sandra asked Jin to help them fight against the upcoming aggression, to which he agrees. Shiroyasha agreed to fight the Demon King, but Izao intended to handle it himself, a desire she was not opposed to. Now with that matter settled, we continue the story from Asuka's Pav and the fairy. They were strolling through an exhibit for the guild to show their craftsmanship. The grandest exhibit, there was a giant armored suit titled Dean by the Rattenfänger community. Asuka was astonished by what the fairies community had created. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind blew through the exhibition and snuffed all the lights out. Thousands of red eyes stared at Asuka from the dark end of the room. A voice called out to them, "Is found who it is looking for, the fairy." Asuka used her gift to command dem rodents, but nothing happened. The rats charged forward undaunted. With her fancy power failing, Asuka had to resort to good old trusty physical strength as she summoned her sword and slashed away at the rat pack while trying to flee, but they were too fast and their numbers were too great. Luckily, Letitia, who was looking for the damsel in distress, appeared just in the nick of time. Letitia's body had aged from a small Lolita into a young woman. Even her voice changed to that of a young mistress, which was enough to scare the rats and the attacker away. Asuka thanked her for the impressive display of power, making the 1,000-year-old vampire blush. Later, Asuka took a bath in a hot spring and contemplated her weaknesses and why the rats didn't follow her orders, which means someone had a stronger influence over them. However, she stilled her resolve and decided to become stronger till she could control other gifts with her words. Izao and Yo's power wasn't going to overshadow hers. Soon after, Black Rabbit and Shiroyasha burst into the hot bath. BR heard what had happened and was concerned about Asuka. After Shirayasha was done being a pervert, they informed Asuka of the Demon Lord's attack during the coronation. As soon as all the ladies stepped out of the bath, Izao played his part in making perverted remarks tag-teaming with Shirayasha, who discussed a plan for tomorrow's ceremony and games. Shirayasha ordered BR to oversee Yo's match tomorrow. Her nature as a lunar rabbit would help attract a lot of attention. She reveals to Yo which communities the finalists were coming from. The paper in front of them held the names of Salamandra, No Name, Will-O-Wisp, and Rattenfanger. Izao translates Rattenfanger to the Pied Piper of Hamelin, a name that catches BR and Shirayasha's attention. A community called the Pied Piper of Hamelin once worked under a demon king, the same demon king who summoned over 200 demons to create the Grim Grimoire community. But after the demon king was defeated, all his communities lost their power and disbanded. Izao has Jin tell him about the Pied Piper of Hamelin, one of Grimm's tales. The piper in this tale is the Rattenfanger, the one who controls rats. All this worried Asuka, the rats that attacked, the name Rattenfanger. She wondered if the fairy sleeping innocently in her lap was the Demon King's servant. Following this, Shirayasha disbanded the meeting and everyone headed to bed. The next day, Black Rabbit gave the stadium an opening speech before the main gift game of the Nativity of the Salamander, the Battle of Creators. Jin gives Yo all the advice he can about her foe. Letitia asked her if she wanted a partner to come along since this game gave the players the choice to bring a teammate along. Yo refuses and walks in confidently, trying to prove herself. BR introduced her to the roaring crowd surrounding them. A blue flame flew into the arena and knocked Yo over. Asha, the annoying brat Yo facing mocked Yo and introduced the source of the blue flame, Jack-O-Lantern. BR signals the start of the game. After Shiro claps, Yo and her opponents get transported into a playing field inside a giant tree. The conditions for winning are either escaping the forest maze or destroying the opponent's gift. Yo asks Asha if she is the leader of the Wisp community. Asha got distracted by what she considers flattery, allowing Yo to run towards the exit. Asha and Jack began chasing after second best girl. Possessing the powers of animals, Yo easily dodged Jack's blue flames by picking up the scent of natural gas, which was exactly as Jin had told her. The legend of the Jack-O-Lantern began when villagers thought the blue flames caused by erupting natural gases were ghosts. After a minute, Asha got sick of the chase and ordered Jack to deal with the girl for real. Jack dashed in front of Yo with incredible speed and smacked her to the ground, allowing his Lil Huzzy ahead for the exit. Pumpkinhead proceeded to reveal his true identity as Asha's independent teammate in this game and the ultimate creation of Willa, the Emis Fatuous, and a demon born between life and death, Jack-O-Lantern. Don't know if you made sense of all that yap, just know that Jacko is not the girl's Pokemon. In fact, Asha was a spirit that exuded natural gas, which gave off the illusion that his flames were blue, like in the legends. Jack uses his flames to surround Yo and corner her. His target is her necklace. Surprisingly, instead of getting a power-up as anime characters do when they clench their fists, Yo grabbed her necklace and surrendered. Consequently, the playing field crumbled and the Will-O-Wisp community was declared the victor of this round. Jack floated over to Yo, and he questioned her decision to fight the battle alone while noticing the immense loneliness in her eyes. He reminded her to rely on her community more and then bid her farewell. Asha voiced her dissatisfaction with the win and walked off in frustration, unlike Yo's friends who proudly celebrated their teammate. Then, out of nowhere, black G's rolls rained down across the city, and the paper stated that everyone was now participating in the Demon King's gift game. The host forces Shirayasha into the role of Game Master, which prevents her from participating. The host master's conditions for victory were the unconditional surrender or death of all players. Meanwhile, the player's condition for victory is to break the false lore and expose the true legend. Naturally, panic begins to overtake the town. Along the outer wall, a giant white golem with mysterious individuals overlooks the beginning of the gift game. Suddenly, black smoke engulfed Shirayasha, and they sealed her within to prevent interference. Izao sees the mysterious individuals entering the town and wishes his friends good luck. Yup, as you expected, Izao charged into one of the demons named Wezer, pinned him to the wall, and dragged him through it. Shit was cool, but as established earlier, I now see him as a jerk and was preying on his downfall. Wezer disengages and cements Izao's feet into the wall before ordering his teammate Ratten to go on ahead, or their master would be upset. Izao immediately caught on to their identities. Wheeze was the name of the river in Hamelin. It was obvious that they were the demons born of the tale, the Pied Piper. How the kids died in that fairy tale was still uncertain, which meant their victory condition was to decipher the real events that unfolded in the Pied Piper of Hamelin. On the other side, Letitia faced the red-haired girl atop the white golem. The demon referred to the golem as Sturm, which meant storm. Letitia charged at the girl with her spear, but the attack did not penetrate the demon. Black smoke erupts from the demon and begins to lull Letitia into sleep. A firebolt shoots through the golem and frees Letitia from the demon's grasp. Sandra appears and challenges the stranger, asking her if she is the Demon King of Hamelin. The girl delineates and introduces herself as a Gif, the Demon King of the Black Death, otherwise known as the Black Purger. Meanwhile, on the street level, Ratten descended to the stadium where Yo, Asuka, and Jin stood beside the imprisoned Shirayasha. A girl uses her flute to incapacitate them. Yo suffered the most due to her superior hearing. Asuka realizes that Ratten is the Gif user who commands an authority she cannot override. She is the Pied Piper. Thus, Asuka commanded a lesser being, Jin, to grab Yo and make a run for it, while she had Ratten frozen for a second before she broke free and bitch-slapped our girl. The baddie admired her gift to be quite powerful, yet it was no match for her power. And to show it off, she played her flute to spread her mind control over the entire Salamandra district's population. Ratten's control over the populace of Salamandra forced them all to fight each other uncontrollably. Luckily, Black Rabbit was there to activate her Judge Master status and put the gift game on hold till the evaluation was completed. She forces the host and players to cease combat and move to the negotiation tables. Within the conference room where the Grim Grimoire and No Names gathered, Izao taps Jin's shoulder and reassures him that all the nights he spent studying were gonna pay off here and now. The red-haired Demon King insists that they have not committed any foul play during the gift game, and BR uses her connection to the garden's hub and confirms that her words are true. The focus here was the binding of Shirayasha. She declared that she would participate in the game, yet she could not. The evaluation reached BR, and the Grim Grimoire was innocent of any fault. Interrupting the game for an evaluation without any fault having taken place meant the game would continue with new rules, giving the hosts an advantage. The Demon King decides to continue the game after 1 month has passed. Izao and Jin interrupt her. Based on the names of her companions, Jin concluded that the Demon King sitting with them now was called Plague. She controlled the most catastrophic epidemic in human history that occurred before the Little Ice Age of the 14th century, the Black Plague. They begin to haggle with Plague to reduce the break before the gift game resumes, since she has already spread the plague amongst the populace. If they waited a month to continue, almost everyone would certainly die. Plague offered everyone at the table to join the Grim Grimoire in exchange for sparing all the other unaffected communities. Meanwhile, near the stadium, Yo was helping Lily heal the injured from all the fighting that took place. Asha and Jack reconvene with her and relay that Asuka is still nowhere to be found. Yo's temperature rises and she collapses into Asha's arms. The plague has already taken root within her. Back at the meeting, Izao realized that Plague wanted members for her newly formed community, which is why she made her offer. Mandra, having had enough of the bullshit, pulled the "I don't give a rat's ass what you want, we will kill any and everyone affected by the plague to stop you from having your way." Izao heard this and was like, F that, let's add a rule preventing team fighting or friendly fire on condition to reduce the break before the game resumed. Also, he offered to have BR participate as a player in the game, which would give Plague the chance to attain a Garden Noble. Thus, she agreed to give them 10 days for the offer. Jin stood up and declared that the game would resume in exactly 7 days. Also, after it resumes, if no winner is declared within 24 hours, Grim Grimoire will be victorious. 7 days was the optimal time to prevent casualties and leave them enough strength to fight back. Plague agreed and the date was set. In a cave lit with floating spirits, the fairy woke Asuka up. She was surprised by the giant armored Dean standing before her. The spirits of the 130 children who died in Hamelin spoke to Asuka and offered her all their knowledge that took place on June 26, 1284. Also, thanks to the spirit's 131st comrade, aka the little fairy that now sits atop Asuka's shoulder, the shiny rascals were down to gift Asuka the mech on one condition. Hence, a contract was formed with Asuka. If she can submit Dean to her will, she can have him. With a promise to defeat the enemies that stand in her way, Asuka accepts the challenge. Dean powers up with furious force, ready to face her. Fast forward 4 days, we see the people of Salamandra have begun to show symptoms of the plague. Whizzer and Ratten tell the new Demon King that she's a product of the garden and is destined to fall after her role is fulfilled, but they reassure her that they will stand by her side till those final moments come to pass. Back with the gang, Yo wakes up still weak from her sickness, and she finds Izao sitting at her bedside reading a book. Izao greets her and admits that the solution to the riddle was still hidden. The enemies they were facing were all related to the Pied Piper of Hamelin, but fulfilling the conditions was still vague. Even though there are many parallel worlds with different versions of every story, they all intersect at a certain point to share a common truth. The death of all 130 children on the 26th of June could not have been caused by the plague, since death from it varied greatly in timing. This meant her lore was false, meant to be broken. All the tinted glass inside the town bearing the false tale of the Piper of Hamelin needed to be shattered. That much was clear. However, the true lore they needed to present escaped them. Additionally, how they sealed Shiroyasha was not clear. Izao knew her gift gave her control over the cycle of the sun within the garden. He connected the dots and realized something. The little ice age that the world experienced in the Piper of Hamelin due to the disturbance in the sun's movement was the key to Shiroyasha's imprisonment. Izao gathered all the information he needed for now and wished Yo a speedy recovery before departing. The 7th day begins. Jin led all the people of Salamandra to go around breaking the tinted glass depicting the false lore of the Pied Piper. Plague realized that they had partly figured out the riddle and decided to ensure their victory. Thus, she used the remaining false lore-tinted glass to teleport them all into the world of the Pied Piper of Hamelin. All the tinted glass was moved out of sight. Jin quickly realized the situation and ordered them to head into the churches where the glass would most likely be hidden. Incidentally, Izao was heading towards one of the churches before Weezer intercepted him with a powerful blow. Weezer had attained divinity through Plague's power. His strength was doubled within his home world. Izao and Weezer clash with explosive force, while Beer and Samber face off against Plague, whose smoke ability renders their attacks ineffective. Meanwhile, on the street level, Rattan used the military police members under her control to slow down the effort to break the tinted glass. Mommy Letitia was like,
Sur mes gardes, amoureux des rats.
But ultimately, she couldn't do shit since the controlled men were in the way, and as we know, friendly fire is a big no-no. Luckily, the big bad mech flew in to stop the baddie's evil acts. We see our boy going blow for blow with Wussy Boy. Weezer flaunts his incredible strength, stating that he's now a demon blessed with divinity. The latter considered the 130 sacrifices a mere stepping stone to attain such an upgrade. Izao congratulates him and unveils Weezer's true identity as the Pied Piper of Hamelin. Izao had successfully solved the riddle. He explains that all the other myths were based on the plague. There was no mention of Rattenfänger, a man controlling rats, on the plague. That man appears only after the 16th century, when the plague was at its worst. That ruled out Rattan and plague. According to the plaque, that children walked along the Weezer and died from a natural disaster. Therefore, Sturm is just another symbol of the Weezer, the real Pied Piper in the story. Weezer expressed the desire to have Izao join them as a demon king. He admired his incredible potential. Izao declined. Becoming a demon king sounded exciting, but his current goals aligned against it. With that said and done, Weezer swung his giant flute at our boy, starting the battle once again. Back on street level, Rattan greeted the girl in a red dress, mentioning how bad she wanted to have her to herself. I will not make any lesbian jokes for I am tired at this point. Henceforth, Asuka guided Dean's attack to smash through the several Sturm golems Rattan had under her control. Dean's power was unmatched, it smashed them toys easily and grabbed hold of Rattan. Before it crushed her, Asuka ordered Dean to spare Rattan. She offered Rattan a challenge. If she could take control over Dean using her flute's melody, Asuka would surrender. Rattan agrees and prepares herself to play the tune Fantasia of the Pied Piper of Hamelin. Meanwhile, the hosts with the mostess and the little salamander girl continue to struggle fruitlessly against the Black Plague. Their attacks do not affect her. Beer asked her whether she truly is a ghost as Izao had concluded. Plague revealed the story of how she came to be. Her power originated from those who died of the Black Plague between the 14th and 17th centuries. She is the representative of the 800,000 evil spirits, their resentment and grudges. The sun's diminished activity, which triggered the Little Ice Age, also contributed to the spread of the Black Plague. That is why she had the right to punish the representative of the sun and seal Shiroyasha. The hatred she had for her was powerful. Back at the main event, Izao and Weezer are currently in a stalemate. Izao is fed up with Weezer's half-assed attacks and taunts him to use his full power. Weezer gets fired up and unleashes his full strength. He gathers his power within his giant flute and charges at Izao. The camera then cuts to Asuka enjoying Rattan's beautiful melody. Yet Asuka's power does not wane. The memory of her friends and her desire to hold their very own Halloween kept her resolve steeled. Rattan admits defeat, and since she had already sustained fatal damage from the previous hit, she faded away. Her final words were a gentle goodbye to the pretty lady. Asuka, Dean, and her tiny fairy friend charge forward toward the Demon King. Speaking of Demon Kings, smoke settles over Izao and Weezer's battle. Weezer expresses his astonishment over Izao's power. At the cost of Izao's right arm, Weezer's weapon was shattered. As Weezer faded away, Izao complimented him as the only foe to ever face him on equal footing. Weezer then thanked him and disappeared. Leaving Plague solo, she notices the death of her allies. Thus, Little Missy unleashed her full power to eliminate everyone around her. A potent black mist flew through the town. BR and Sandra see Yo jump into the mist's path to save a stranded child, but they are too far to save her. Luckily, as before, Dean jumped in to block the mist with a magic barrier long enough for Yo to run to safety. When BR let her guard down, Plague tried to attack her with the mist, but Isao jumped in and kicked her attack away before charging at Plague and kicking her into a nearby building. Plague, however, stood up unscathed. His attack leaves no mark. Meanwhile, BR was seen handing a card to Asuka before joining the fight to distract Plague using their combined power. Yet Plague swats them away like flies and charges her mist for a final deadly attack. To their luck, Black Rabbit pulled out another gift card and transported them all to the Lunar Palace, Chandra Mahal, atop the moon. The vast distance from where she gathered power interrupted Plague's attack. BR uses another gift card to summon the sun's armor and weaken Plague. Isao jumps up and kicks her further into the sky. The stage was set. Behind the nearby shattered building, Dean and Asuka charged their attack. The card BR gave her was a fragment of the Mahabharata. It allowed her to summon Indra's Vajra using her ability to unleash a gift's true power. This weapon was powerful, but could only be used once per gift game. Once Asuka finished charging the attack and summoned the Indra Vajra spear into Dean's hand, Sandra used her flames to temporarily seal Plague's movement to ensure the attack lands on its target, sending it flying into the sky and exploding with incredible power. Hence, the Demon King perished into dust. Back inside the stadium, Shueisha addressed the people of Salamandra. She apologizes for failing to help them and then gives Sandra the final word of the speech. Sandra declares the end of the Demon King's game and their victory. Meanwhile, Asuka returned to the underground cave where she met the spirits to return Dean and the fairy. However, the spirits thanked her for giving them closure and gave back Dean, as well as the little fairy whom they gave the gift of agriculture, which would cultivate itself later. The spirits bid her farewell and disappeared. Asuka gives the fairy the name Melin and welcomes her to their community. Back at the royal palace, Isao broke into Mandra's office. He figured out that the person who helped the Demon King set up the 10,000 pieces of tinted glass throughout town was none other than Mandra himself. This stunt would help Sandra gain a lot of popularity among the Four Masters, i.e., Sandra would be the child who beat a Demon King. Yet that plan came with great risk, as evident from all the deaths Salamandra suffered. Unsurprisingly, Isao didn't care for them, which I low-key respect. He doesn't know them after all and has made it clear he isn't the hero type. That said, he was furious since it risked his friends getting hurt, and made it clear that if one of his community members had fallen victim to the Black Plague, he would have personally killed the entire city, Sandra included. Hearing this, Mandra dropped the tough guy act and admitted that all of the people who died agreed to the plan. They happily agreed to risk their lives if Sandra was to become a fully fledged and respected Four Master. Mandra then offered Isao his blade and asked that he only take his life as punishment. Isao declined. He did not quarrel with people who willingly agreed to die. He then told Mandra that if No Name's community were ever in harm's way and needed assistance, Salamandra would be there to lend a hand. Mandra happily agreed to his demand and swore it upon his flag. Later, within the No Name's community territory, Asuka asked Melin if the farmland is recoverable. Melin admits that she cannot do so. That said, Isao asked Melin if she could use her powers to break down fertilizer and make the land arable, to which the little runt confirmed to be doable. Thus, the entire community got to work. Dean used a massive fork to plow the land while others gathered water. They spent the following days joyously cultivating the land together. Sadly, the show ended on a cliffhanger. When Isao walked over to help BR, a letter with a red seal fell into his way. The end.